Greetings from the Bay Area. I spoke at Berkeley today and it went really well. And it was a lot of fun and had a lot of engagement and discussion with the students and the faculty afterwards. And it was just overall a really good day, a really good productive day. One of the things that struck me is that the students talked about how the didn't really relate to what was happening on the ground. And I just think about a lot of the theories we use, such as Marxist Leninism, critical race theory, and a lot of this stuff is really one driven, and it gets at organizations, and organizations build themselves around these theories or create a vacuum, and they don't really relate to being changes in the real world. I won't talk about critical for a minute because one of the things that the critical race theory relies on is the concept of whiteness, which to a degree makes sense, but white people is not really a thing. There's no characteristics that white people share that could make white people empirically defined group. It's basically just a bunch of random shitheads who somehow been convinced that they have something in common with a bunch of people they don't have anything in common with. And really, when we're in community and when I'm in redneck communities with people who are labeled white, none of them identify as white. They're always identifying, looking at their history and saying, I'm Italian, or I'm Irish, or I'm German, nobody goes back and says, I'm really proud of my white ancestors. It's not something that happens. And I'm not saying that whiteness is not a real thing because it is structurally, but it's not ontologically a real thing. So we need better ways to get working class labeled white people to identify themselves in a way that relates to their experience instead of sort of foisting on them an identity that doesn't really match. And it always struck me that Nazis say white supremacy benefits white people, and that's a good thing. And anti racists say white supremacy benefits white people, and that's a bad thing. And it's remarkably illogical to tell somebody that something benefits them and then tell them to stop doing it. And I think we need to theorize these things better. Let's go to Marxist Leninism. We're going to get some guns and we're going to take over the state and we're going to establish a state on behalf of the workers. And you know this is not going to happen. You can see what's happening with the American government and protest movements now. They're crushing them using RICO laws, whether it be right or left. It's just not a realistic strategy to make changes in 2023 United States. Does it make sense in basically a peasant agrarian society in 1917? Sure. Sure, it makes sense then. It's a weak state, a weak leadership, but we have a very strong American state that dominates the globe, and they have found different strategies for crushing dissent. It's just totally unrealistic to think that you're going to be able to get enough people with enough guns to take over the state and establish a worker state. And by the way, it doesn't work anyway. The USSR lasted for 70 years and crumbled under its own weight. And I always say the reason that it crumbled is because in the USSR, your boss was an asshole. And in the United States, your boss was an asshole, but you got to come home and drive a 1979 Pontiac Trans Am. It's the consumer goods. And China has figured out that you have to provide the consumer goods in order to keep the population pacified. We need better theories from academics, period. We need theories that come from a popular education process in which academics are actually going out into communities and listening to people and listening to what they say and not trying to impose some predetermined theoretical framework onto whatever it is that people say. You're not taking people at face value. And really, the people on the ground, the people in these communities, we know what's going on. We know who owns the timber. We know who's talking shit about us. We know who's oppressed. We know who's not oppressed. It's not that complicated. And I would just like to say on behalf of the students that I talked to today, please, academics, we do need good theories. We need theories that help us build organizations and institutions that can replace crumbling institutions of American society, or at least fill the gaps that they can't fill. And we need the theories that are going to allow us to be able to do this effectively. And that's my live for today. Peace, y'all.